Close your eyes and imagine you are no longer bound by the earth. You have borrowed the wings of an eagle, soaring high and free, the gentle wind all around you, the vast and breathtaking world slowly unfolding beneath you. Green, endless rolling, breathing green. Fields stretching in every direction below, bathed in a warm afternoon light. 1,000 shades of it, from the deep shadowed green beneath the hedgerow oaks to the bright, almost luminous green of open meadow grass lying full in the sun. The land rolls and folds and breathes below in long, slow, generous curves. Warm air rising from sun-baked earth, lifting, holding, carrying. A river threads through the valley floor, a long, winding ribbon of light, catching the sun and scattering it softly across the surface. Clear and unhurried in the shallows, the pale, smooth stones of the riverbed visible through perfectly clean water. Deeper, the river darkens to jade, slow and still and glassy, reflecting the sky above so completely that it is difficult to say where the water ends and the air begins. Willows line the banks, their long, pale curtains of leaves trailing into the current. Rushes stand tall and still in the quieter backwaters, their brown velvet heads warm in the afternoon sun. A heron stands perfectly motionless in the shadows, grey and white and entirely still, more still than the water around it, more still than the rushes, more still than the rocks, utterly absorbed in its own deep patience. The meadows are full and lush, long grass moving in slow, continuous waves as the warm air passes through, great lazy rolling movements travelling across the fields, like breathing, like the land itself sighing with deep contentment. Along the hedgerows, wildflowers crowd the verges in drifts of white and soft yellow and pale purple. Ox-eye daisies and meadow buttercups nodding gently on their stems. A farmhouse sits in a fold of the valley below, old pale stone, ancient and settled, as though it simply grew from the ground over centuries. A thin thread of smoke rises from the chimney in a perfectly straight, unbroken line into the still afternoon air. Gardens surrounding it full of colour, roses climbing old stone walls, lavender in long purple rows, the deep red of poppies scattered among everything else. The warm air carries it all upward, the scent of cut grass, of warm earth, of flowering things, of the river's clean coolness. Everything below is unhurried. Everything below is at peace. The shadows of clouds drift slowly across the hillsides in long, soft shapes, cooling the grass for a moment, then moving on, leaving the green behind them more vivid, more deeply itself. The shadows of clouds drift slowly across the hillsides in long, soft shapes, cooling the grass for a moment, then moving on, leaving the green behind them more vivid, more deeply itself. The river leads towards woodland at the valley's eastern edge, the trees gathering first at the field margins and then deepening, closing their canopies, lifting and interweaving into one great continuous green. From above the canopy is magnificent, an unbroken sea of leaves in every shade, from the pale, bright new green at the outermost tips to the deep, almost blue-green of the oldest oaks at the woodland's heart. The whole surface shifts and shimmers gently in the warm afternoon air. Millions of leaves, each catching and releasing the light in their own small way, creating a surface of extraordinary living complexity. Where gaps open in the canopy, long shafts of warm light fall into the interior below, pale gold columns dropping through the green shadow, illuminating patches of fern and moss on the woodland floor. The moss in those lit patches glows with a brilliance almost impossible, vivid emerald, jewel bright, as though the light passing through the leaves has been filtered into pure, living colour before it reaches the ground. Silver birches stand at the woodland's southern edge, their white bark gleaming between the darker trunks of oak and ash, their leaves the most delicate, trembling, pale gold green. They catch every breath of air and translate it into movement, constant, gentle, hypnotic movement, each small leaf turning and flashing and settling and turning again. A stream runs through the woodland below, traceable from above by the line of alders and willows following its banks, moving through the green interior in no hurry whatsoever, pausing in deep, still pools where the light barely penetrates, then quickening briefly over shallow gravel beds where the water runs clear and bright, then slowing again, always finding its own unhurried way through the old and patient trees. At the woodland's far edge, the trees thin and the land opens again, the light expanding suddenly and warmly, sky widening, the world becoming spacious once more. The fields beyond are golden with the afternoon, the shadows longer now, the light more amber, the whole landscape beginning very slowly and very beautifully to warm toward evening. The land rises, gently at first, barely perceptible, then more deliberately, the flat fields giving way to slopes that tilt the world below at new and beautiful angles. Rolling hills unfold in every direction, their rounded shapes moving away towards every horizon in long, easy waves. Grass covers them in a continuous, uninterrupted sweep of pale green and gold, and the afternoon light falls across them at an angle that gives every hillside a warmth, a depth, a softness entirely its own. Warm amber gold in the full sun, deepening to cool blue-green in the shade. Dry stone walls trace the hillsides, long, patient lines of grey stone following the natural contours of the land. The stone is covered in lichen, soft silver and pale gold, and the most delicate sage green. And the walls themselves seem less built than grown, as though they emerged from the land the way the hills themselves emerged, slowly and naturally over a great span of time. Sheep dot the upper slopes, white small shapes scattered across the green, barely moving, entirely content. The occasional lamb moves slightly faster than the others, a brief burst of energy, a small leap, and then stillness again, settling back into the warm afternoon patience of the hillside. Heather covers the highest ground, vast drifts of deep purple sweeping across the upper slopes, filling the air above with a faint sweetness that rises from the hillsides below. In the low places between the heather clumps, tiny flowers, white, yellow, palest pink, bloom in the short turf, each one perfect and complete, and utterly indifferent to anything beyond its own small, beautiful existence. The sky from here is enormous, wider than the sky over the valley, wider than anything below the hills. A deep, uncomplicated blue in every direction, with long, slow clouds drifting across it from the west, great white formations moving in their own unhurried time, their shadows travelling across the hillsides below at the same slow, peaceful pace. Further, deeper, the hills growing longer and more dramatic with every mile, rock outcrops emerging more frequently from the heather, great grey and brown faces of ancient stone, smooth where centuries of weather have worked them, rough and fractured where the frost has found the cracks. The air changing, cooling slightly, clearing, becoming something finer and more still. And on the horizon, growing steadily, unmistakably, the mountains. They fill the whole of the sky ahead, vast, sweeping, ancient. Their lower slopes are still green, a wilder, rougher green than the hills below, the grass giving way to heather and rock and the pale, sparse vegetation of high exposed places. Higher, the vegetation thins entirely and the bare stone takes over, great sweeping faces of grey and brown, streaked dark where the water runs, pale where the weather has scoured them clean. The ridgelines cut sharp, clean edges against the deep blue sky above. Warm air rises steadily from the sun-warmed rock, long, reliable thermals that lift and carry without any effort, without any resistance. The mountain itself offering up its warmth and sending it skyward in slow, generous spirals. The world below falls away in stages, the individual details softening, the streams becoming threads of silver, the valleys between ridges deepening into long blue shadows. A mountain lake appears in a wide glacial hollow, perfectly still, cradled between the arms of the high ground. Its surface is completely without ripple, completely without movement, a mirror of such stillness and clarity that the mountains surrounding it are reflected with absolute precision. The water is the deepest, most luminous blue at its centre, shading towards turquoise at the shallower margins, and at the very edges where the water barely covers pale gravel, a colour so soft and clear and extraordinary it barely seems real. The silence of high places settles around everything, not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper, the ancient, complete quiet of rock and ice and cold, clean air. A quiet that has been here longer than anything else. A quiet that holds everything gently and asks nothing in return. Snowfields appear on the north-facing hollows, deep and old and permanent, shaped by the wind into long, smooth waves. Their whiteness is luminous, not simply the reflection of light, but something within the snow itself, a radiance from deep inside the compressed and ancient ice. The glaciers fill the deepest valleys, slow rivers of ancient ice, their surfaces ridged and furrowed and cracked into vast geometric patterns. In the deep crevices, the ice glows with that colour, that particular extraordinary glacial blue, the blue of centuries compressed, of water that last saw light before any reckoning, glowing from deep within with its own quiet, intense, ancient light. Higher, and the clouds are no longer above, but below. Their upper surfaces are brilliant, great white rounded formations seen from above, lit by the full unfiltered sun, rolling in slow, magnificent billows. The mountain peaks rise through them like islands, their snow-covered summits lifting into clear air above the white sea, isolated and magnificent against the deep violet blue of high-altitude sky. Between the peaks, corridors of deep, clear air, utterly still, utterly clean. The sky a colour not found at lower altitudes, deeper and more saturated, the blue of a world closer to space than to Earth. The sun from up here is different, direct and warm and complete, touching everything evenly, casting no complicated shadows, simply present and generous in every direction. Long, slow thermals turn below, visible as the clouds beneath them tilt and shift and slowly rotate in response. The whole vast sky is in motion, but motion is so slow and so enormous that it registers not as movement, but as presence, the great slow breathing of the atmosphere itself, the sky simply being what it is, doing what it always does, patient and enormous and completely indifferent to time. The world below is hidden beneath the cloud. Only the highest peaks emerge, bare rock and snow and deep blue sky, and the long, clean ridge lines catching the sun and the shadows of clouds moving slowly across the lower snowfields far below. Everything is simplified up here. Everything is reduced to its most essential and most beautiful form. Light and stone and air and the slow drift of cloud and silence. The mountains descend on their western side in long, sweeping lines. The bare rock giving way to vegetation again, the heather returning, then grass, then the fuller, greener landscape of the lower ground, and then the sea. Great pale cliffs drop from the land's edge to the water below, ancient stone, cream and ochre and pale grey, their faces worn smooth in places by centuries of salt wind. At their base the sea moves in long, slow swells, lifting and breathing against the rock in a rhythm so deep and even that it is less a sound than a pulse, less a movement than a heartbeat. The updraft from the cliff faces rises clean and strong and steady, an endless, reliable column of warm air lifting along the cliff edge. Below, the ocean stretches to every horizon, not one blue, but many. Deep navy in the farthest depths, royal blue where the water is still very deep, turquoise and aquamarine in the shallower places above underwater shelves, shading to the most extraordinary pale, luminous green in the sandy shallows of the sheltered bay. A small bay opens below, a perfect crescent of pale sand, untouched and smooth, the water within the most translucent aquamarine, the sandy floor visible clearly through the still, clear depth. A single white sail moves very slowly across the mouth of the bay. A small boat going nowhere in particular, in absolutely no hurry. Its sail barely full, drifting on the gentlest of afternoon breezes. Long, slow swells pass across the open ocean below, great smooth movements of water that have travelled perhaps thousands of miles to be here, each one rising and falling in a rhythm so slow and so regular it is like watching the ocean breathe. Their crests just barely catching the light, their troughs just barely darker, the whole surface moving slowly and endlessly, like the chest of something very large and very deeply asleep. A different coast now, wilder, older, the mountains plunging more dramatically and directly into the sea. Fjords cut deep into the land, long, still, dark channels of water between walls of mountains so steep and so high that the sky above them is just a narrow ribbon of blue. The water in the fjords is black and perfectly still, a mirror so precise that the mountains reflected in it are indistinguishable from the mountains above, two worlds folded together along the waterline into one complete and perfect whole. At the head of one fjord, a glacier lake lies in a wide, shallow bowl of ancient rock. Its colour is unlike anything else. Soft, luminous, milky turquoise, the colour of water that has passed through ice and stone and centuries to arrive finally at this stillness. Not the vivid turquoise of tropical waters, something gentler, something more ancient, something that holds its colour the way old things hold their stories, quietly, without display. The glacier that feeds the lake terminates at its far shore, a great slow wall of ice, pale blue and ancient, its face fractured into enormous geometric shapes. Very occasionally, with a sound like a deep, soft exhale, a section carves away and slides into the lake, creating a low, gentle swell that travels across the turquoise surface and dissolves in long, slow rings against the far shore. Icebergs drift on the lake's surface, not white but deep, internal, luminous blue, glacial blue, the blue of compressed centuries, each one a small, perfect, temporary sculpture, slowly returning to water. Further north, the world changes. The air grows crystalline, so clear that the distances seem impossibly precise. The sea below carries ice, great, slow, drifting flows, their surfaces brilliant white above the water, glowing a blue below, separated by channels and leads of deep, dark water. From above, the sea ice is a mosaic, an ever-changing pattern of white and blue, and the dark water between, covering the ocean as far as can be seen. A stillness descends on everything up here. A stillness that is not emptiness, but presence. The Arctic carries its quiet the way the deep ocean carries its depth, not as an absence of something, but as a fullness, a completeness, a hush that holds everything within it. Southward now, and the world slowly warms, the ice retreating, the sea darkening and deepening, the sky softening into something warmer and more golden. The deep ocean below is vast, layer after layer of water, each one colder and darker and more still than the one above. Currents moving with glacial slowness through the dark. Immensity of water and time and quiet stretching down and down and down. The surface here is glassy, barely any wind, and what wind there is touches the water so gently that the surface merely shimmers rather than ripples. The swells are long and low and widely spread, and between them the water is mirror flat, reflecting the sky above with such precision that the world seems to exist twice, once above and once below, both equally serene. Shapes move far below the surface, vast and slow and unhurried. A great whale surfaces very slowly, very gently, emerging from the water in a long, curved arc, barely disturbing the surface, just the softest parting of water and the quietest breath, and then sliding forward and under, back into the blue. The water in the shallows ahead changes colour, the deep navy becoming royal blue, then turquoise, then the most vivid aquamarine as the sea floor rises toward the surface and sunlight penetrates all the way through. Below, a coral reef, even seen through water and air, its colours extraordinary. Coral in every shade from deep burgundy to palest cream, and moving through and above and around it all, fish in every colour imaginable, moving in those endlessly fluid formations that make the reef feel like it is breathing and dreaming. A sea turtle crosses the sandy floor far below, its movement slow and ancient and entirely unhurried, carrying the full weight of an immeasurable patience. The sun is lower now. The world has entered that most beautiful and gentle of all transitions, the long, slow, golden hour before evening. The light is warm and amber, coming at a low angle that makes everything it touches glow from within. The sea below is liquid gold, The sky is a progression of the most tender blues, from deep overhead to palest, most luminous turquoise near the horizon. Turning toward the west, toward the sun, and flying into the warmth of it, the air itself carries warmth and light in equal measure, something softer than ordinary air, something that holds and carries with a gentleness that deepens with every passing minute. The clouds on the western horizon have caught the beginning of the sunset, long, low streamers painted in colours beyond easy naming. The palest rose, a deep, warm apricot, a luminous coral that seems to pulse very gently. And at the horizon itself, where the sun descends towards the sea, a band of deep gold, so warm and so intense, it is felt as much as seen. The land below glows in the light, fields of amber and gold, rivers turned to threads of molten copper, hills in silhouette against the deepening sky, the gentlest, most restful blue. The shadows are long and soft, stretching peacefully across the warm earth, and everything they touch is made beautiful by them. The shadows are long and soft, stretching peacefully across the warm earth, and everything they touch is made beautiful by them. Everything is settling now, the birds in the hedgerows finding their roots, the last of the day's bird song becoming more occasional, more widely spaced. A solo here, a brief exchange there, and then longer silences between. The sheep in the fields below, still and settled. The farmhouse showing the warm glow of their windows against the deepening dusk. Twilight comes gently without announcement. The sky simply deepening in its blue, the colours of the world below slowly and tenderly withdrawing, leaving the shapes without their colours, the landscape without its detail, just the beautiful essential forms of things in the growing dark. The hills are gentle silhouettes, the rivers dark and quiet, the fields silver in the fading light. The first stars appear, not all at once, but one by one, tentatively at first. A single point of light, very faint, very high. Then another, slightly brighter. Then another. They do not rush. They arrive at their own pace, in their own time, until the sky is full of them, countless and patient and impossibly far away. The moon rises in the east, full and round, so large near the horizon it seems almost close. It casts its light across the sea in a long, trembling path, that silver moon path, ancient and endlessly renewed. The sea in the moonlight is silver and black and deep and still, and the moon path moves on it like a breathing thing, alive and gentle and eternal. The world below is silver and shadow and perfectly, profoundly quiet. The land is still, the sea is still, the sky above full of its millions of patient stars. The mountains on the distant horizon are just the darkest of all darks, standing in their ancient and absolute patience beneath a sky that has always been above them and always will be. Everything is at rest. Everything is safe. Everything is held in the gentlest and most patient of all possible stillnesses. The stars turn slowly overhead in their ancient, unhurried dance. The world breathes. All is well. All is peaceful. All is still.